Yeah, thanks, James, and thanks for the organisers of this day. This is another progression, which is fantastic. I'm just here to just try and amplify the amount of energy from the producers and rural sector in this space, and talk through a little bit about what James has introduced, and just following on from a great introduction earlier from Rebecca and Shoa in terms of the Agforce, the carbon space, and yeah, if I can work out how to drive this thing.
Yep, just use that.
Just use this.
Yep, just work on it.
Okay, so I'd like to introduce, well, James already introduced natural capital and ag care, and then talk about ag care testing, and I guess the large amount of cooperation and enthusiasm that's in this space. And so that's the next step. I guess this is just an iteration of what James has spoken about, but yeah, I guess the 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, the Agforce committee looked deeply at, okay, what they really want to be involved in the carbon space, in the natural capital space, and what were the barriers for them to be involved? And it was largely considered that there was lots of issues as to why, as James has illustrated, issues why Agforce are great, but the involvement of the rural sector was really quite small in that, and so they're sort of looking for other avenues and broader thinking in terms of being involved in this space, and so. Yeah, they looked at natural capital as a vehicle for that, and it is quite simple. I mean, as James has illustrated, it's everything. It's a world stock of natural assets, including geology, soil, air, water, and all living things. I guess for landholders, it's about the involvement with that, the economic activity and the physical activity in being involved in that space, and trying to draw from that. Okay, what are the benefits that are being produced by natural capital, and as well as commodities that landholders have traditionally produced. What are the other drivers for society, for economies and for markets that really make it valuable to own and manage a land area and draw these benefits from it? So Agforce, I think 2018, looked at this natural capital approach and adopted it at a board level, said, okay, we really need to be involved in this space and work toward it, and commissioned the landscape management committee, of which James was a member, to, I guess, think about that as to how to manifest natural capital in the landscape. Given the fact we've got a carbon market, we've got a burgeoning interest in biodiversity, all these other aspects. So how does agricultural industry, broad agriculture, look at this and say, okay, what do we want? What do producers want in this space? And they did come back to this broader natural capital remit. And so the board endorsed that and said, okay, you committee go and work towards that and try to work out how to do it. So this committee had, I think, 96 meetings over 3 years, as a general committee addressing this. And then the smaller committee, of which James is a member, has had that much again, meetings just to try and distill and work through what does this mean for agriculture and mean for property management at a property level. And I'll just run through these points quickly. So it's a distillation of lots of conversation and lots of, I guess, deliberation about this. So it's looking at measuring and valuing natural capital, which the committee has really emphasised. It needs to be talking about the resilience of landscapes, not different parts of a property or different aspects of a property and measuring particular parts, but the whole landscape. And we know that the natural capital assets do provide free goods and services, and these have been traditionally called ecosystem services, and that this has emerged as a tradable, commodity-based marketplace. But if we stand back from that and say, okay, if we're managing a whole property that's across the land that also deals with the landscape, how do we draw in these different interests together? And the Agforce board firmly endorsed that if we're looking at natural capital, we've got four main reasons for doing so, and there's more, but just want to cover those. So if we're looking at natural capital assessment and being involved in the natural capital space, certainly want to look at the productivity and financial position of the person who owns and manages the land. And that's being derived from four main areas. One is building productivity through understanding natural capital more effectively as to what the benefits of different ecosystems are on the property. Secondly is being involved in a marketplace that includes things like act use, biodiversity, reef predators, the whole box and dollars. Thirdly, it's about reducing the risk profiles of land managers with the rural financiers. And fourthly, it's about helping build the social license that landholders want to have and want to be proud of in terms of managing and building natural capital, and also about working with the punitive instruments that have been introduced 2 decades ago. So, okay, this site has got a reason for this, but how can we work with this in a proactive manner rather than a reactive manner? It's great to see Nelson here. So I guess this is another thing to really signify the large amount of interest in this space from the rural sector. And a land management alliance is formed in Queensland, just spawned through this energy. So it's involving Agforce, Queensland Farmers Federation, NRM groups such as Southern Queensland Landscape, the Australian Land Management Group, of which Nelson's a member. There's also a Lock-the-Gate Alliance is also really keen, just a representation of some of the members. So the purpose of this alliance is to strengthen the drivers and identify solutions to the widespread adoption of more sustainable land management. So this is, again, emphasising the energy that landholders have in this space. And this is an organisational alliance that's representing that. So an agreed focus of this Land Management Alliance is to design interventions and work with these core provisions of being able to restore and maintain natural capital stocks across Australia's rural landscapes, and particularly honing down to if we, as agricultural land managers, really want to have a difference in this space, it's about continuous improvement and demonstrating continuous improvement in environmental outcomes in ways that provide recognition and reward for those who manage the land. So this Land Management Alliance has approached this in a fairly pragmatic manner, and I appreciate the fact that a lot of thought's gone into this from lots of people, but it's based on, okay, if we're going to be involved in this natural capital space in a creative but very disciplined manner, let's try and do so in a pragmatic, principle basis. So the Alliance has worked towards 10 major principles in terms of being involved as institutions and as representing our industry in this space. It's one that positively influences the ongoing management decisions of land managers. So if we're going to be involved in working with industry to develop methodologies, to develop broader income streams and so forth, we want to certainly improve their ongoing management decisions making. We want to provide support for them for continuous improvement and tangible benefit. If we're going to be involved, it needs to be something that has a national recognition. It's not just for the Roma area or in Queensland or such like. It's a broad application to have ecological integrity, have spatial integrity, have a positive benefit cost ratio. So for landholders to be involved, there needs to be a demonstration of benefit. To be able to encompass multiple credence factors, and this is one way of sort of saying that society has an interest in what's going on. Banks have an interest in what's going on. Politics has an interest in what's going on. There's a whole lot of credence factors that really a land manager needs to respond to and to demonstrate, okay, I am managing these resources as best I can to be sustainable and to generate income from the nation and to preserve our ecology going forward. So be credible for all parties, certainly. Be nationally and internationally recognised in terms of the standards that are being developed in this space, and to be sufficiently flexible to deliver on varying additional requirements. And since Agforce has started this conversation about 3.5 years ago, there's a large development of different thinking in this space, and we know we've got to remain reflexive and be involved in that space in terms of adding all these additional thoughts. So I won't go too much more depth here, but the Land Management Alliances recognise that yes, we do need a certification system that's about continuous improvement that incorporates things like ACUs and biodiversity and things, but it's whole of the property, whole of the landscape. Ways that deliver recognition and rewards to landholders. So in terms of integration within the agricultural industry, the power of this lies in its unique capacity to integrate commercial, environmental, production and social systems at the whole of property level. I'll emphasise that a moment. In terms of adoption, I guess our next steps are in terms of integrating some of the systems that are available for us, including the certified land management system that's available for some considerable time, that looked at international management standards, environmental management standards, and all others as well. I guess within within Agforce rather, this AgCare interest has certainly corralled a lot of enthusiasm from membership, and they've been asking us to sort of crystallise what is a vision for AgCare. And this is in draft, but it's been supported by the board thus far. That landholders are recognised and financially rewarded by both domestic and international markets for maintaining and enhancing the natural environment of their landscapes for the benefit of all to West Listening. Purpose: AgCare is the vehicle that identifies and acknowledges the natural assets and management actions that support and enhance our natural environment and efficient and productive businesses. So marching forward with that, this is what AgCare is. It's 10 metrics that are, there's a whole lot of context here that I haven't got time for. It's essentially a measurement system that is affordable, not difficult to do, credible, scientifically valid, repeatable, but it's entry-level assessment. It's not top-level expensive stuff, it's entry-level assessment. So these 10 metrics are recorded at a property level and summed, totaled in terms of to create a score. So we're looking at an AgCare resilience plan being a property plan. That's the main communication document. Measuring the condition of remnant vegetation, non-remnant, soil condition, biodiversity, water on the property, stock, farming as in cultivation, how energy is used on the property, and what's the social quotient in terms of the imperatives of the land manager in building natural capital. So those things are assessed together. So where Agforce is at with AgCare is that we've already done one round of testing, and we couldn't really hold them back, so we were commissioned to do with 25 properties, ended up doing 37 before we drew a line in the sand. There's lots of interest in being involved, and all of those properties were given an introduction to natural capital and so forth, and the LRF and the co-benefits and carbon projects available there. I think four or so landholders involved will go into that space, but all properties were carbon neutral with this assessment. There were no net emitters, and I mean you can start to draw implications from our initial assessments in terms of the carbon status of our current agricultural system. So the next steps. We've already been approached by Queensland Government again through Department of Agriculture and Fisheries to do a second round of testing, which is currently getting underway. Be done before Christmas to refine the survey, the GIS work that's been involved, and those 10 metrics and how that's being assessed. but certainly to provide avenues for different organisations or different areas of expertise to be involved in this agcare space, particularly from the department in terms of the drought management and business resilience work that they've done for many years. How can they incorporate that in agcare? So with the Land Management Alliance, as I mentioned before, we've got large possibilities of working with the Australian National University and David Littleproud's biodiversity certification scheme as we go forward. We really want to chase that and work together as an alliance to do that. I guess now it's continuing to be much about building partnerships with organisations such as Accounting for Nature, which is involved in the second round of testing, Climate Works, Rabobank and other banks that James has mentioned. Grazing, so the BMP, Best Measurement Practice certification systems with the Queensland Herbarium is really keen on this space as well, with biocondition. The land care movement has another larger interest area, and there's more and more and more. I guess the focus is about monetising services, so putting some money, some dollar factors in terms of short carbon, short biodiversity, but other aspects of the natural capital condition. And try and test and be innovative in this space. So we've got organisations such as Ethical Fields and Mutuals approaching us saying, we want to work in this market, and we want to help aggregate or do different things to make this market work and build leverage, build. So that's my pause at this point in time.